Hello, Republic of Gamers, and welcome to ROG Sidequest. And as I notice this as we go live, I acknowledge that I've got a million different windows open. Discord actually crashed as we were setting up. Gotta love that. But my name is Jake Kalinsky, also known as Solid Jake, and joining me here for the first time ever, we've got Lane Prescott, MC Mendez. Welcome, Lane. Welcome to the show.
Thanks so much. Happy to be here.
So we're doing something like totally out of left field. We typically, well, I guess SideQuest is all over the place, so that's not true. We're talking about a game called Star Citizen, and if you don't know what Star Citizen is, Star Citizen is the largest crowd-funded project ever. It is a space simulator that is looking to reinvent what we think of as a MMORPG, right? Like to an extreme scale. And this game, when did it first go live? Do you know when the Kickstarter first launched?
Yeah, it launched in 2012, and I believe it was a Kickstarter for about a year before there was any live game, any even like tech demo that you could get into. You could correct me if I'm wrong on that.
That sounds about right because, well, I first signed up. I looked it up on my account. You can log in. You can find out when you first purchased basically a starter ship for this game. It was December 31st, so New Year's Eve of 2015 was when I signed up, but you've got me beat. You're like truly OG.
September 26, 2014. We're getting on the 7 year mark.
So let's talk about that. 7 years. 7 years ago, you purchased a copy of this game. 5 years ago, I purchased a copy of this game, and people are wondering, like, is this game out? Well, we can give you the short answer right now. The answer is kinda. You can play it, but it is far from done. And if you had to guess right now when you think this game would fully ship, what would your most honest guess be? He's
I
thinking.
would I would be aiming for another 5, probably.
I'd actually,
I would say
I'd give
I
it
would say
more
this time
personally.
2026.
2026. Okay. Seems reasonable. What do you think the biggest limiting factor is going to be there? Server infrastructure?
Yeah, server infrastructure. And it's also taken them a very long time to set up the system that we have now with 4 landable planets, a couple of moon bases, et cetera, et cetera. So if they go for the same level of detail in the 100 systems that they're planning to build out, that's just going to take a lot of art design time, regardless of where servers are at. I
No,
would say
I think they'll
five
probably
years.
introduce more of those planets over time, right? I don't think they need to have all of that at launch. I mean, definitely by growing the systems organically, that'll feel nice and exciting as a player.
Right. Oh, we just discovered a new jump point. Now there's like 3 more systems that didn't exist. That'd be a really cool patch note for sure in the future.
So I'm
What are
actually
you thinking? You're thinking more than 5?
probably, I don't know, it's hard to say. It's just because, like, okay, when we look at the history of this game, as we were setting up, we were talking about how this all started out in the CryEngine. And I think they quickly realized that the CryEngine wasn't really going to be able to handle exactly what they want to do long term with this game. So they ended up swapping over to Lumberyard, which is made by Amazon, and Amazon has their own ambitions when it comes to MMOs. They've worked on a few. They've got New World coming out this year. They had a Lord of the Rings MMO and works with a Chinese studio, but now Lumberyard is its own standalone engine, and it seems like they are going to be the best partner for RSI to actually produce this new form of MMO again, where there's no servers. It's one game. Every player is in that game globally, and there's one economy, like everything. And again, this wouldn't work in World of Warcraft, let's say, because there'd just be too many players. The auction house would be pure chaos. Like Orgrimmar, Stormwind, all the cities would be pure chaos. But when you have a full universe at your disposal, I mean, there's a lot of different hubs where these players can exist, and you can you'll there's a lot of different game experiences that can be born out of this too. So we'll see.
That's a lot less AI work if you make the hub actually feel like something interactive with other real players. Don't need quite as many shopkeepers or people walking around.
It's very true. It's very true. And like, that is one of the things right now that is pretty iffy is the actual AI in the game are well, we can actually go interact with them as man, the game crashed. Oh, we're good. We're good. I thought it crashed for a second. But it might look a little choppy here. We this is again far from an optimized game, and I'm streaming and gaming simultaneously, so it is gonna put a fair bit of strain on the PC and the CPU. But I'm gonna go ahead and oh, I don't want to hear my own voice. Hold on, I gotta mute the stream because I have the stream open in the background. Hashtag production. So this is Lane was mentioning that there are multiple places that you can go to within the game, right? Back when we started, this was not the case. There was like a hangar that you could go see your ship that you bought. So business model currently, and as this game is founded, you basically need to purchase a ship as your pass into the universe, right? It's minimum of $45 US dollars.
Yes.
And you can then take that ship, and you're not committed to that ship. You can take that ship, you can trade it in towards an upgrade if you decide that you want something a little bit better. We don't need to talk about how much money we've individually spent on this game, but I am gonna show off this little image that you sent to me that I titled yeetfleet.png. This is quite a few quite a few ships on the screen, and it's an impressive fleet.
Yeah, I'm a little delayed. I can't see the screenshot on your side, but I'm looking at the stream on the side. This is a dual fleet of me and my buddy. Some of these are dream ships, and some of these are currently acquired ships. Okay, there we go. I have the Kraken and the Hull D and the Reclaimer. He's working towards a Pioneer, a Nautilus, and a Banning Merchantman. Both of the Persei are something that we want to acquire but don't currently have. This is way too much for two people, but hopefully we'll have some more friends by the time this actually becomes a reality.
And that's a cool way of looking at it because, again, this is a unique game where I feel the current player base are people that really just are looking at this forward down the road, right? They wanna spend that $50, that $100, or if they were whale much more than that on some of these ships to basically help fund development. And it truly is just like full on crowdfunded Kickstarter for the most ambitious game ever made.
Yeah, absolutely. And what you were talking about earlier about how this game has moved from seeing the concept art and just being able to walk around in a single fighter hangar module up to where we are now, where I've been able to walk around in the Reclaimer for about 3 or 4 years now. So ships of that scale are in the game, totally work. You can land them on planets. Takes a while, but they're there. So seeing the bigger ones definitely looks much more possible than it did even 7 years ago.
Yeah, yeah. And just kind of thinking about, you're talking about just being able to go into your ship and look at it. Well, that was a big move to be able to be like, wow, I can actually go in my ship. Then, of course, the next stage is being able to fly in it. So we currently do have the persistent universe there. You can log in, and it's constantly being updated over time. Servers are about, are they 100 people now? I know they've changed it a few times. They brought it down.
I want to say 50.
50 people.
I really want to say 50, yeah.
I feel like they've dropped it down to as low as 40 for some of these events where there's a lot going on, just because the server side is really where this game is struggling the most, I feel, in terms of just figuring that out and pushing that technology forward. But we are up in a loading area where you spawn in the game, and this is the city down below. And everything is one-to-one in this game. So you can, when you're in outer space and you see a planet, you can land, you can fly in, land on that planet, and it's all pretty much in real time. So just kind of comparing this to like maybe some similar games that you might think of, like No Man's Sky, where everything is procedurally generated. No Man's Sky is definitely the same in being one-to-one, but it's less on the realism scale, where you can basically whip around the other side of a planet immediately. This game doesn't have that same kind of freedom exactly. There is quantum travel. There are forms of mobility that lets you go a really far distance in a really short amount of time, but you're not doing that all the time. This more has proper hubs. It has some survival game mechanics like hot and cold weather and food and water. They're very minimal. It's like not punishing. You're not constantly thinking about eating, but it does exist in the game.
Yeah. Um, and quantum travel was a nice little quality of life because it used to be entering the atmosphere, depending on the size of your ship, could be 15 or 20 minutes if you wanted to get down to a
It
landing
was
port.
really rough.
And they've made it so that you can quantum travel down to the surface. So, some level of height above the surface. And it makes going from station to planet much less arduous if you want to do it that way. You can still fly in manually if you're going for realism.
You have the option. If you got the time, then power to you. But yeah, it's nice to be able to quantum down. You find that city you're going to, you find that station you're going to, and off you go. So we're in New Babbage. We just went down, got on the monorail, and we're gonna take this over to the spaceport. And again, this is technically a city that is 1-to-1. You could go out and walk beneath this train if you truly wanted to. It is quite dark out. There's day-night cycles that are pretty long. It's not like it's gonna swap day to night in an hour. I mean, I don't know if it's like, it's pretty much real time, but each planet's different. We just happen to be in the night side. It's cool though. The stars are calling us.
For sure. The transition between the spaceport and the apartments is very cool on New Babbage.
This is totally different than the way we usually do the show. Usually we're just rambling, not playing a game, but it's nice to be able to just kind of plug in, go for a spin, show people what the game's all about.
And it really speaks to the servers. I mean, I've had such a good experience for the past 30 or 40 days. Very few crashes. The game actually feels very gamey at this point.
Yeah, it's getting to that stage. I mean, combat is really where I think this game shines because you can really do any kind of control scheme you like. I think you play mouse and keyboard.
I do, yeah.
Yeah. I play with a dual flight stick and a foot pedals, so mine is very arcade-like.
What's the transition when you're trying to do FPS then?
Mouse and
You just
keyboard.
have to kind of
Yeah,
you just have to push the flight sticks off to the side.
pretty much. Yeah, I'm actually really eager to get my hands on the new. Actually, I think I have one arriving in the mail today. The new Claymore 2 keyboard because you can remove the numpad on that, and I think just having the additional desk space with like a 10 keyless keyboard will be really nice for that. So looking forward to that because it is a lot of clutter, and I'm probably gonna order them within the next month or two. The desk clamps for my flight sticks, just so that they are attached to my desk, not on my desk. Okay, so we are going to we're at the spaceport terminal now, I believe, if I at all remember where I'm going, which admittedly,
I think you're on the track.
yeah, I think I'm on the right track. And you could go. There's shops. There's like places you can go. You can go to ship rentals. There's gun shops because this game does have the ship combat, and it's also got first person shooter. There's land vehicles. To the point where it has all those different components. They're even working on a new mode called Theaters of War, which is basically like Battlefield, where you're going to have, I believe it's is it 40 man or 40v40? I think it's probably 40 or 20v20.
I don't actually remember for Theaters of War. I just remember the vague concept of multi-vehicle and ship and ground all at the same time.
Which is really cool. They have all these different components, so they're looking at that mode as being a cool way. It's something fun to do, but B, a cool way to balance some of these different vehicles and stuff as they're being developed because there are a lot of ships. So I've got a few different options here. I'm just going to summon my my Warden because that is my favorite ship. I really just it's a heavy fighter. It's not as nimble as some of the other ones, but it's also not like super large. These ships can get quite large to the point where they require pretty much a full crew. This is really designed for a single pilot and a gunner. Feels very Star Warsy to me in a way, like a Falcon, but I know there is another ship that is much more like the Millennium Falcon than this.
The warden always reminded me of the P-38 from World War II, the twin wing, twin fuselage ship. Well, it wouldn't be a ship; it would be a plane.
We're brainwashed by Star Citizen. So we called this vehicle. They basically like prepare it for you and put it in a hangar. Then you take the elevator and bam, you have your ship in the hangar. And I think this is just, I don't know. I think it's really cool. They did redesign it recently.
The Aegis Dynamics design language is fantastic.
So we can talk a little bit about the fact that this game has multiple manufacturers that all have their own aesthetic. They all have their own AI with its own like kind of voice. The HUDs are all unique to each individual creator, and beyond that, like they really nerd out and go all out when it comes to creating this game. They make like basically car commercials for these ships, and finding the exact spot is sometimes annoying on this ship. And I feel like they've been criticized a little bit for wasting resources on making these ship commercials, but I love them. I really do. They get me excited to, check out the ships.
Yeah, back in the day, the Retaliator commercial was so fantastic. The Retaliator is a 5-person long-range bomber designed to take out ships way bigger than it is, and it just has this submarine feel that the commercial was able to capture. And I'll be honest, it worked as a commercial for me. I went and bought it about 20 minutes after watching the commercial.
Love to hear it. So to launch your ship, I'm going to be a horrendous pilot with mouse and keyboard because I haven't done it in a long time, like literally years and years and years. But I think I remember the hotkeys for the most part. But yeah,
I'll
again,
help if you need anything.
Well, enough space to take off.
Mm-hmm.
And for landing gear?
Yes, and if in doubt, hold X. That's your space break.
Right, okay.
Like a glove.
Like a glove. So this is the train that we just took. We can just fly down over it a little bit.
So Jake just did a barrel roll, and interestingly, the flight model in this game has it so that those thrusters aren't just for looks. His rear thrusters are providing thrust, but when he does the barrel roll, that thruster on his left side is actually the one doing the stabilization.
Yep, you can see him.
And if you lose it in combat, he's not able to do that. Or he'll do it, and he'll go into some wild 180 that he can't control.
Which is really impressive, just the way that every little bit of the ship isn't for looks. And this is true for the equipment and the inventory system in this game as well, where like it's not just, I choose my loadout and I pick a gun. It's you need to go in and physically equip everything from your certain armor will have a certain amount of slots for grenades, ammunition. The heavier the armor you wear, the more slots you'll probably have, I believe is how it typically works. But there are some drawbacks to that heavy armor, and I believe you cannot pilot a ship in heavy armor as well. So there's armor racks in these ships, so you're gonna have multiple sets of armor. There's a lot of, I wouldn't say there's a lot of inventory management per se, but if you want to min-max, there definitely is.
Yeah, for sure. It's not quite Escape from Tarkov, but it's getting there.
So if I go in first person mode, I'm very likely to crash. So I'm just going to not do that because I don't trust myself, and it would be a big pain in the butt to get back out here. But you can just kind of see this is the whole city. We're just kind of cruising above it.
So the game had a big event a couple weeks ago called Invictus Week. It basically celebrates Fleet Week in the lore. And it's interesting, they still have some of the signage up, like spotlights throughout the city celebrating Invictus Week. It really makes the universe feel alive when they do events like that.
They do like literal trade shows, like in convention halls within the game, where you can go and check out stuff and just like see things in it. Yeah, it's unique because like they have this whole world to play with, and they treat it as a living, breathing universe because, well, it's becoming that.
That Consolidated Outlands down there. Oh no, that's Omega. You'll see buildings with brands that you recognize throughout the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And one
Very much like flying through Tokyo.
exactly. I'm really glad we ended up, on a server where it's currently nighttime here, because I think the night vibe is pretty cool. But we can just kind of shoot straight up and go out into space.
In real time. It's very cool.
Do I have to hold
And
this?
you'll feel the difference between some of your big ships, because you might have a bigger ship than your friend, but he might be able to
Oh
make it
boy.
up into space in about 5 minutes. And
I
in your big ship, it might take you about 20.
Right. This is I have a military grade quantum engine in this ship, quantum drive, which allows me to jump from point A to point B a lot faster than a lot of other people. So, if I'm not mistaken, you missed the Xenothreat event, did you not?
Yeah, I wasn't playing at the time.
That's
I heard about it after the fact.
that's tragic.
It is tragic.
Because
I've seen the YouTube videos. That was a terrible mistake on my part.
so the Xenothreat event was basically a group of pirates were essentially attacking, and it was like this whole event where the whole server had to come together and fend off these big capital ships and have this big battle. And you had your own capital ships from NPCs to fight them off, but also other players that had their cool ships finally had a reason to show it off and really get together with a group of like 8 guys and have them piloting all the turrets on a ship and really just fight back. And my favorite moment from it was there's a component to it where you need to gather resources and deliver them, because they're like, it's just kind of like this war of attrition. And during that, we were dropping off a payload of resources that we gathered, and I just looked up and I just saw this huge space battle just going on. They just bullets flying everywhere, explosions happening off in the distance in space, and it was so theatrical, so like Hollywood. So it just felt unbelievable, and I'm like, I can't believe that I could just get in my ship, fly up, and be part of that. And it kind of shows you the scope of what this game will be. Not could be, but will be. So, and again, speaking of scope, like we've just been flying straight up away from the city, and there's no loading screens. This is 1-to-1. Like my buddy could be having a beer at the bar down in that city, or he could be in my gunner seat up here, and it doesn't matter. It's all one big world.
Yeah, the transition from your apartment to your space station is seamless. It's really cool.
I feel like every time I actually like really play this game, it's late at night when I'm submerged in pure darkness, and I just fall into the ambient noise of this game. I don't know. It really does it for me aesthetically. So let's quantum jump somewhere. Where should we go? Anywhere? I mean, we're at New
What are you
Babbage.
thinking? Yeah, we're on Microtech.
Yeah.
We could show Tressler or maybe Crusader. Crusader's
Crusader?
worth mentioning.
Sure.
And do a last visit to Port Olisar before it gets removed for a little while.
They're getting rid of it for a while?
Yeah, because Crusader's going to be a landable planet in the upcoming patch, and they're going to have to create a bigger station.
That makes sense. Port Olisar is like the original space station. It was like the only place you could go for a long time.
Right, so currently on the star map, you can see we're in Microtech, there's Hurston, we're going to be going to Crusader, so they've added planets over time. At the very beginning, Crusader was the first planet,
And you couldn't
Port
go.
Olisar was the first station that you could spawn at.
Yeah, Crusader was actually just this big planet that you could look at. Couldn't even do anything with it.
I'm very excited for that, being able to actually go down into a gas giant. That's coming up very soon.
So spooling the quantum drive, is it middle click to engage quantum travel?
B,
B.
and then hold B and it will activate.
What just happened? So quantum travel
That seemed like a short jump.
Yeah, I had set a point to Crusader, but it didn't want to do it for some reason. Oh, maybe it was Yeah, that was jump
Oh,
one of two. Okay, they were getting me
it
further away
needed,
from the planet.
yeah, it just needed to get you the right angle.
Yeah, it was just so short I didn't even notice. All right, so now we're again. This is what we were talking about. This there's different ships have different speeds, quantum drives, etc. Mine is actually pretty quick, but you can see this is going to take a minute. This is why we podcast and play video games at the same time. Efficiency. And really it is a long distance we're going. We're traveling pretty much to the other end here because we're in the far east side, if east, northeast, southwest makes sense in a space map. The far right side at least. And we're going pretty much all the way to the west. But if my buddy was to jump with me, this might take him 5 minutes longer.
It actually requires some planning if you have different ships, and some ships can't do it in one single jump.
That's true.
Oh, I love that! I love that shot with the sun reflections. Fantastic. So the Warden that Jake's in, it's got the nice fast jump drive, and it also has a really big fuel tank. So going across the system, not a problem. If you have a little light fighter that's super fun to fly in atmosphere or near a station, you might have to stop for gas like 2 or 3 times on your way across the system. So there's a little bit of planning involved.
And then you have your even bigger ships that could store a smaller fighter in it, in which case you would never take your smaller fighter long distance. You would use that. And it's cool because there's all different kinds of classes of ships. This game is not just a war combat game. There are ships that are really popular for mining, right? You can go out and you get a mole. You can just spend your time going out and harvesting ore and then selling that ore. There are ships that are all about cargo and freight, and they're freighters, and they're just transport ships essentially. So if you want to be a space trucker, guess what? This is the game for you. So there's all different kinds of experiences that can come from this game, from exploration to transport to stuff. But again, this is very largely still in the infancy stages, where a lot of that content is, while it's theoretically there, it's not really there, and everything is player driven. But I think that's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's very much a sandbox, and if you can get a couple of your friends and a couple of Tonka trucks, you can do anything that you want.
Tonka trucks.
And I think it might actually stay that way in the future as well, even when they've done more work with setting up your enemies and your systems. I still think it's very much going to be a situation where when you log in, you can take it to a space truck simulator stage, you can go mining, or you can just be the baddest bounty hunter in the galaxy. Whatever you want to do that day.
You can be a bounty hunter, you can be a pirate. Yeah, I mean, that's really what I have the most fun with, is the space combat. And I have a heavy gunner, so I can really go toe to toe with most ships. I find that I have the most trouble with the ships that are just super agile and too fast. That's where the meta, you start getting into the meta, and there's, when it comes to your own ship, it's not like you just buy a ship and that's how it is. There's like my ship has these 4 cannons and then the big gun on the bottom. These can all be customized. I typically replace them. I can change out the guns on my my turret. There's different shields. There's different jump drives. There's gun holders for your FPS weapons. There's so many different things to work towards. And I guess we kind of have to step back towards when we compare this to an MMO. With an MMO, you level up, you get these abilities, you have talent trees, you have all that. This game, it's all about equipment. It's like there's no like level 100. You're just your character, right?
And I would even say, going back to ships, it's not a start with a small ship, get to a medium ship, and then eventually in the end game, everybody's going to be running around in a 10 or 15 person ship. The Retaliator that I brought up earlier is really good at killing ships that are bigger than it, and is really terrible against ships that are smaller than it. It's very much a rock, paper, scissors situation, and your ship will always be good in one context and always have a weakness. So the end game will definitely be the ship that you prefer, not the bigger ship, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's just really fun to think about how your group could be 8 guys all in their own one-man ships, or 8 guys in one big ship. And it's really just comes down to the preference. But I will say that this game is definitely a game that is best played with friends, especially in the current form. Playing alone is a lot of really relaxing and cool flying around, but I don't think there's a whole lot of I don't know. I feel like you'd get lonely real fast. Space is lonely,
You would.
guys.
And as a new player, it's always nice to have people that can explain some of the bugs, because some of them can be a little obscure sometimes.
This is true. This game does have its bugs. So Crusader's not going to let me land, right?
Crusader will not let you land. We're
Not
not
yet.
Okay. Quite there. I
Okay.
believe that's next patch.
Okay.
But Crusader is the gas giant, so it's huge. It fills your entire vision when you're next to it.
Yeah, we're pretty close, and it is massive. It's going to be cool when they let us enter that orbit.
It's good Cloud City.
Is that what you want? Is that like your most desired thing in the game right now?
I looked at it. I didn't know if I was ready to agree with the art design, the kind of Japanese themed art design, but I can hang with it for sure. I'm looking forward to seeing some of the sakura trees. Did you see any of the pictures for the new
I
landing
saw a
zone?
few of them. Yeah. You're not liking the weeb aesthetic?
There's just too many leaves. They just continuously fall. That was my only nitpick. No, it's gorgeous.
That's fair.
And perpetual sunsets. I mean, who can go wrong with that?
It's going to be gorgeous. So we're jumping over to one of the moons of Crusader Yela. And Yela has this big asteroid ring around it, which I think is really cool. Right? Am I thinking of the right moon?
Believe so. I'm not super familiar with this side of the galaxy.
Yeah, here it is. I was gonna.
Yeah, there you go.
I heard it, which means there could be an enemy nearby, but I guess not. I thought that was a ping for like another signal it detected, but it'd be fun if we got some space combat in, but I don't know that we will, and I definitely don't trust in my mouse keyboard skills with this game as.
You might be able to pick up a bounty if you're in Crusader security.
Yeah, maybe. I can look. Put my landing gear up like a dingus. So yeah, these asteroids would kill me, so I should probably not fly in at full speed.
They absolutely will. They will win every single time.
Warden can survive a lot, but I don't think it can survive that. So we'll just space break.
You'd think in the 2950s they'd have like a sun visor that you could just like pull down.
I know, right?
Situations.
Let's see if we can find a contract.
Yeah, it should be in Bounty Hunter if you have the option.
These are like the
Oh, the introduction. Yeah.
Yeah, because I haven't played in a while. That's pretty far away. That's pretty far away.
No. Yeah, we'll not do that one. But this is how you manage your contracts, and it's all based on where you are in the galaxy. So, for example, right now Jake's at Crusader, so he's only getting offers from Crusader security NPCs. If he goes to Hurston, he'll get completely different options. If he has a crime stat, if he's one of the bad guys in the galaxy, then he'll get offers from people that are less reputable. For example, I believe Twitch is one of the mission givers.
Yep, and one of the
Area
towns.
18.
I don't know what I'm even looking at here.
Is that a mineable rock?
Must be.
You might have pinged it. I bet it has Quantanium.
Blow it up, boys! Yeah, I don't have a mining chip, so that's not for me. This is the scanning module. So that's a mineable rock.
If you hold left trigger, it might allow you to see what's actually inside of it. Is it left trigger?
It's right trigger to pulse like that.
Yeah, there's a separate
scanning.
scanning
I see scan progress. Okay.
Should you put a quantum beacon down there? Is it worth coming back to?
Probably not. It's neat though.
So speaking of mining, it used to be primarily planet-based. So you could go to Yella, which is the moon that we're at, Lyria at Area 18, or sorry, 4. But they've recently introduced what's called the Arc Halo. It's not this asteroid field, but there's a separate asteroid field out in the middle of nowhere with no jump points that you just kind of have to memorize the distances from.
That's cool.
Yeah, that has super high density of valuable minerals. Very much feels like The Expanse or some kind of near-Earth future where we would mine the asteroid field in between Earth and Mars.
Like the belt, yeah. I love The Expanse,
Very
by the
cool.
way. Yeah, no,
So
Go ahead.
if you're not looking for PvP, you can definitely do PvE and just hide out in the most remote corner of the system and never bother anybody. Just doing your space mining thing.
Whoa, what happened? I didn't want to do that.
Worst slide.
Yeah, I guess so. It's neat
Assert
though.
dominance through the asteroid field.
I actually don't know what's going on. Why my ship did that twice now, but anyways, yeah, it's a lot of fun. There's a lot of cool stuff. There's a lot of variety to be had and stuff to look forward to in this game. I don't think I've asked you. Like I said, the Warden's my favorite ship. What's your favorite ship in the game?
I still really have a soft spot for the Reclaimer. I've never had a moment where I was so blown away as when I first was able to get into it, explore the entire thing, EVA around it. It doesn't have a purpose in the game. There's no salvage. I can't really use it. But I still think that's definitely my favorite ship so far is the Reclaimer.
So what's the ship you're looking forward to that they've teased the most?
At this point in time, probably the Kraken, just because it seems really interesting to have like a USS Nimitz in space. The design seems a little impractical where you're landing your ships outside in space. You'd think you'd want like a fully enclosed hangar or something.
Right.
But the design language is really cool, and if you just roll with the punches, that one should be super fun and enable a lot of really cool multi-crew adventures. If I can get 10 people on a Discord call at the same time, we're rolling around at a Kraken, there's probably going to be laughs to be had.
Have you ever flown around in the Hammerhead, for example, and done that?
I have. I think every time I get into a Hammerhead, I end up with a level 5 crime stat. So
yeah.
Mean things happen when we pull out the Hammerhead, for sure.
When your ship has like a bunch of dedicated guns, what does it have, 6 turrets?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yes, it does.
So
if you wanted to be fully stacked, you would need 7 people, which is kind of a big ask in an alpha game. But I think I've had 4 people in it at the same time. So 2 side gunners, a top gunner, and the pilot, and that works out really well.
I think we had as much as 6, but they were just like, we just teamed up with another group. They were like, hey, you want to get in our Hammerhead? We're like, sure, that sounds fun. And sure enough.
That's awesome.
Yeah. It's a very unique community, but I don't know. I'm pumped to see where this game goes. I mean, obviously, let's not die.
You're doing good so far, considering the speed you're going at.
I'm going as fast as I can, and I don't know if I feel like I'm decoupled, or maybe no, it says I'm coupled. I don't know. Something feels off. I'm just not used to mouse and keyboard, I guess.
Yeah, it's the aim points are a little delayed on mouse and keyboard. I feel I just look at where the inertia point is.
It's probably a good way to do it.
What are you most looking forward to in the next year or two? Not when the game goes live, but something that's like on the horizon.
If Theaters of War does come out, then I think that's what I'd be most excited for, because I think we're pretty far away from having an actual usable server that's going to feel really good and stable. But I do feel that the game has progressed to the point where the ships feel really good, the controls feel really good, especially without like the latency and the server issues. I feel like that's when the game feels the best, because if you go offline and you just go into free flight and you fly your ship around, it's like, wow, this feels incredible. And then you go and you play in the game, and there is some delay, there is some latency, there is some desired improvements. But I think if they're able to execute Theaters of War where they have, these 40-man servers with a much smaller map that feels just amazing. I'm gonna play a lot of this game if that happens.
Field Star Citizen Edition, definitely.
Yeah, pretty much. I think that's I
Are
don't know.
you gonna play? Are you gonna play Squadron 42? Are you looking forward to the single player?
I am. I am. I mean, that's got a crazy cast. Like Mark Hamill is like one of the main characters in the cast. Who else is in it?
We have Andy Serkis, Gary Oldman, Mark Strong, Gillian Anderson. I mean, like all the sci-fi greats are in there.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's gonna be a lot of fun. So that's something we haven't talked about at all. So Squadron 42 is a story-driven game that takes place in this universe. I believe it's a different timeline.
I think it's maybe actually I might not have information that if it was an earlier timeline that would actually make sense.
I believe it is an earlier timeline, but I could be mistaken. But in either case, the idea is just give us a full-fledged, AAA experience with all these resources, these kinds of ships. We'll be learning about the different organizations, the different manufacturers that exist. Obviously, there's these different manufacturers of ships that are vying for military contracts, or even just in the the normal world, not every ship is military. Some of these ships are transports, or there are racing ships. There's even a racing mode. We didn't talk about that. There's some people that are insanely talented at piloting ships in this game.
Yes. I have one of the racing ships, but I just use it as a transport. I can't handle the power and speed.
They're fun. They're very hard to pilot. I think I've rented them before. I might have a couple of them from referrals. I think I got a referral reward where I got like 4 of them or something. I can't say I spent a lot of time in that mode. But yeah, I don't know. Is there any big thing we haven't talked about in terms of this game? Trying to think.
I did want to ask you if you've ever been to prison, but that's a very personal question. You don't have to answer it.
My big prison story from this game is it was completely bugged. So you're supposed to be able to reduce your prison sentence by doing like chores, like mining essentially, and it was totally bugged. So I was just stuck in prison for like maybe it was like an hour. And I had spent like 40 minutes fussing around trying to get out. And I was like, well, only 20 minutes left. And I'm just like hopping around, being bored, like hopping around. And I accidentally committed suicide in prison because I fell down a cliff. And that increased my prison sentence by like 5 hours. And I couldn't fix it. And it was totally bugged. So that was the, I tend to play Star Citizen in bursts where I'll play like a ton for like a month. And then I'm like, okay, I'll wait for the next big update. I'll come back, take breaks. Are you the same way?
Yeah, I'm definitely the play it and then hibernate kind of person. So I picked it back up in February and I've been having a blast with it. But prior to that, it was a 4 or 5 year break where I was just paying attention to what was going on, but not actually actively playing.
Wow, so you've been actively playing for months and months. That's cool.
Yeah, and it's the best it's ever been. So
It definitely
definitely recommend it.
Which is what you want to see with a game like this. You definitely want to see progress.
Absolutely.
What's your prison take? You have any good prison stories?
My buddy had an amazing prison story that he relayed to me. New player got into prison accidentally. Asked the server if they'd save him because it is possible to escape from prison and then be stranded without a ship, but you can be picked up by a buddy. So he was asking the server to help him. My buddy decided to be that good Samaritan, tried to land, tried to save him, did pick him up, but every bounty hunter that was reading the chat at the time decided to respond.
Oh, no!
So what started as a one-man rescue operation became a multi-hour, 6-man rescue operation, multiple people cycling in and out of prison, multiple bounty hunters. They almost made it to Security Station Korea to clear their crime stat. I believe they went through 7 ships, but they ended up adding like 3 or 4 people to their friends list at the end, just, out that common prison bond of trying to escape from the man.
That's amazing. That's a lot of fun.
So I think that was good for the new player to get a nice immersive new player experience, something like that.
The content loop in this game is very unique. And you wouldn't think of like, going to prison as being like a very fun experience, but it does create for some very unique situations and a lot of good stories. I've gone through the caves trying to find my way out because they're deep. Like,
Never tried. I was a little like you said. You can accidentally fall and kill yourself, and I think I hopped the fence and fell and killed myself like on my first jump, and I just kind of gave up the prison escape life.
there's a whole meta because there's like different kinds of ore you can mine in those mines, and it's not necessarily the deeper you go, the better the ore, but they are worth more, and the more money you turn in, the faster you get out. So it's pretty fun. But then you start getting out there and exploring and learning your way around. You're like, huh, I wonder if I can go through that. But yeah, it's neat. All right, should I seppuku? Should I just like crash into an asteroid?
Well, you can show off the explosion mechanics.
You mean like the self
Self
destruct?
destruct. Yeah,
So like alt
self
backspace.
destruct from. Yeah. Hold backspace. It should initiate, and
Yeah.
then we can watch you explode in third person or first person, however you please.
Rest in peace, Warden John. I don't know if it's 20 seconds or
I think it's closer to 20 seconds. Yeah, depends on the ship size.
what a beautiful background.
Man, what a shot! That's a wallpaper right there.
Rest in
Okay,
peace.
that wasn't quite what I was going for, but
Yeah,
it tried.
it forced us into like a different POV as we exploded horribly. I should have self-destructed and got out and looked at it from Everest Harbor, Hurston. Well, guys, this has been just a different take on these podcasts. Just kind of like chilling, playing a game, and talking about it. Starcitizen is a unique game. I mean, obviously, there's a ways for it to go, right? You can play it now. You can definitely just go to robertspaceindustries.com. You can sign up as a for a free account initially if you're just kind of interested, and then later, but you do have to buy a ship package if you do want to go in. They do free fly weeks every once in a while, so if this is something that you just want to check out and try, you can do it. I mean, I didn't have chat open for most of this because I don't have enough monitors in my life, but I do see people in chat saying, many of us love it, even though it's alpha. Definitely, guys. I mean, yeah, it's just there's so much cool stuff. We did talk about Squadron 42. Henry Cavill's going to be in it. Cool. Yeah, I mean, 4 years before the persistent universe. That's a guess. You said 5 years is what you think. You think 2026. I think that's a pretty reasonable timeline to think about. Before we're
Yeah, at the time, 7 years seemed kind of silly because we were used to normal game development cycles. But I think the greater Star Citizen community has kind of reset their expectations and is willing to do the slow burn for the most part.
I think WoW took about 7 or 8 years to make, start to finish, for World of Warcraft, and that's like a full rich universe with all these quests and 2 continents with there's so much content in World of Warcraft. Like if you go back and you play classic WoW, you're like, wow, this is an impressive game, because no games launch with that much content. Like that's like it's really is one of a kind. And when we look at the scale of what this game is trying to be, it's pretty crazy. So yeah, I think if it is 5 more years, that's a total dev cycle of like 11 years basically to ship a game. And honestly, if we hit that, I think that's pretty good.
It's something you have to put in your will for the next generation, but it's going to be worth it for sure.
Mm. Any final shout outs you want to give or anything before we sign off today?
Just thank you for having me on. It's been a pleasure.
We got to play soon. We'll definitely get a gameplay stream scheduled where we're gonna get a squad. We're gonna go out. We're gonna just explore the stars, and we're gonna slay nerds, or we'll befriend nerds. I don't know. Maybe we'll save nerds. Maybe they're not nerds at all. I call everyone nerds, so don't take it personally when I say nerd. Guys, this
Anything's possible.
yeah, exactly. This has been ROG Sidequest, one of our podcasts where we just kind of sit back and talk about video games, and this has been a fun experience. As yeah, Lane and I both love SC. He's been playing longer than me. I think you're like the second person I've met that's been playing longer than me, so that's props
An
to you.
illustrious crowd.
An illustrious crowd. We've got some more shows lined up for later this week. We're going to be checking out Doom Eternal and the new RTX update on the Strix Scar 15 tomorrow on our Twitch. On Thursday, we're going to be showing off some of the capability of the Aura Sync integration you can do with all your ROG hardware. And on Friday, we're going to be just kind of gaming to be determined. Maybe Starcitizen, who knows? We're just keeping our Fridays flexible. Although there is a chance we're giving away codes for a game, but we do need to lock down the details on that. But yep, guys, that's gonna do it here for our stream. Lane, GG's, man.
GG's.
We'll see you next time.
Sounds good.